Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and I've got something really excited to talk to you guys about and show you. A few years ago, I became associated with a really great couple in India. Their company is called Lilorosh. And for those of you guys that know, they make wonderful, wonderful art bags. Here's one right here. And when I saw what they did years ago, I really felt like I wanted to help them out. I wanted to promote them. I really love their product. This is a bag that they made for me a couple of years ago. And you can see it opens up. You can keep all your art supplies here. There's a nice big opening for your drawing pads, your sketchbooks, all the stuff you need. Lots of great pockets. And they've really done a great job with this. And they're all handmade. They're made to order. You can customize them. Everything about it is just great. And so over the years, our relationship has grown, and they've just been wonderful. And so recently they came to us and asked if we would be interested in doing an Aaron Blaise signature watercolor sketchbook using some of my paintings as covers for the sketchbooks. Well, I thought it was a great idea. We jumped on it, and for the last several months, we've been working with them and trying to produce these sketchbooks, and they are finally here and they're ready to go. And I thought today it would be kind of fun to sit here and show them, do a little unboxing, maybe do a little painting, and I thought I'd just show you guys what it is. So I think you can buy them individually, but this is a set. So this is a set of 3. It comes in this really cool little box with an image that I drew years ago of one of my hidden creatures from the forest, one of the things I like to do. And it's got Lilorosh's logo along with my signature, and it's Watercolor Sketchbooks, 2024 edition or collection. So let's open it up here. And they're each individually wrapped, which is very cool. This is exciting, really exciting. So here's the first one. I'm gonna peel that open. They got a nice little cover. So these are 5 by 7 inches, which is perfect portable size. It'll go right in your art supply bag perfectly. And the reproduction of the image that I created, this is one of my watercolors from a while back that I did actually for my watercolor course on our website. This is one of the paintings I did for that. And then it's got my catchphrase, put some beauty back into the world, right there. I love that. And you open it up, and it's a really nice quality, nice heavy watercolor paper. And it's cold pressed, so it's got some tooth to it, which is great for watercolor. You want to get a little bit of bleed in there. And there's 56 pages in this book. So it's a nice hefty amount of paper in here. So there's the first one right there. Let's get to the second one. So here's this one here. This is another one. This is a demo that I did a few years ago at a class in Wyoming. This is the watercolor I did, a painting of a wolf. And man, the color just, the reproduction they got on these is so accurate to the original. I really love it. Another one, obviously, it's 56 pages. There it is right there. And it says right here, from the 2024 Lilorosh and Aaron Blaise collection, watercolor sketchbook, 300-pound, cold press, 56 pages right there. And it's really cool. Once again, 56 pages. Great weight to the paper. It shouldn't buckle on you too much. And then finally, our last one here, let's pour that out. And we'll open this guy up. There it is. I love that they wrap these. It's really cool. And this one is one that I did a while back as a demo on YouTube, where it's ink. This is a ballpoint pen drawing. And then I did watercolor over the top of it. And there it is. So there's another one with a little lion with the book. So here's the 3 of them right here. There it is, the Aaron Blaise Signature Edition with Lilorosh. I love these. I'm really excited to use them. And I'm really honored that they chose me to be on the covers of their sketchbooks. They're just absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait for you guys to try them. So go on over to lilorosh.com and And check these out. They're really awesome. You can, like I said, their size is perfect for portability. Putting them in your in your supply bag, and just getting out there and sitting in a park and drawing. And so, a matter of fact, speaking of drawing and painting, I think I'm going to go ahead and do a little painting and start it off in this book right here. Got my little tiger book, and I'm going to jump right in there. So I'm using some reference that I shot last time we were in Africa, of this bull elephant walking by. Little. It wasn't little. It was a big bull. That ain't no bull. I love drawing elephants. So you'll notice that I'm sketching with a ballpoint pen. I'm actually just using a Bic. Actually, this is a Wexford ballpoint pen, and most ballpoint pens I know, definitely Bics and the Wexfords, because I've been using it. They're waterproof, so they cost pennies per pen, and they're one of the greatest drawing utensils you can get. They are just super resilient. They don't dry up. Most of my pens are all dried up because I haven't used them in a while in my drawing bag. So I was looking for something to draw with, and I got this Bic pen, and it works great. The reason that's important to have your waterproof pens for drawing when you're doing watercolor, obviously, is that if you want to do, I like to draw first. Now, if you paint first and then do drawing over the top, it's not that big of an issue. But for me, I like to do my drawing first. It becomes sort of like my guide for my paint. So I like to do the drawing first, and I don't want the ink to run when it gets wet. What a fun little pad. I love this sketchbook. It's perfect size.
This is your first drawing you've ever done in your very own sketchbook.
Yeah, that's right. This is. Nick is just reminding me, this is the very first drawing I've ever done in my own brand sketchbook. I've never had that before. Thank you, Lilorosh. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of drawing out the shadow shapes on this elephant. They've got so many great textures and shape, really nice shape. So prior, to these lines of sketchbooks, I never had like a real business relationship with Lilorosh. This has always been my relationship with them has just always been, the fact that I just love their product. I love their entrepreneurialism. There we go. Their entrepreneurialism, and they hire local hirees or local employment, and I find that great. They provide jobs, and they create just a wonderful product as well. And I'm just going to keep this very simple. This is, this might be something I would do out in the field. I would do a sketch like this and do a quick little watercolor wash over the top of it. And then we'd be shooting a lot of photos as well. If Dustin was there with me, I would be painting and he'd be shooting away, or Nick would be shooting away. Or if I'm out there on my own, I spend a lot of my time photographing, and I don't get to paint very much because I want to come back with as much material as I can. And then I use those photographs as reference when I get home. So if I was out there right now, this would be the kind of the style of sketch that I would be doing as I watch these beautiful animals. And this is one of the things I love about the ballpoint pens, is the subtlety you can get with the line. You get some really great subtlety in here. So even though I'm drawing these shadow shapes, I know the shapes are made by the anatomy, right? The shape of the elephant, what's going on under the skin. So I try to pay attention as I'm drawing those shadow shapes to what's making those shapes. You know, what's the anatomy doing under there? So like in here, when I'm drawing the head, even though I've got this interesting shadow shape going on, I'm you know, making sure that I remember the cheekbones and everything else that's under there. These pages are taking the ink really well because one of the great things about this is that the pages are cold pressed, like I was saying, so it's textured as opposed to hot press, which is a smooth paper. So this is cold pressed, but it's not overly textured. It's not super textured. So it takes sometimes when you get into cold pressed paper that's very textured, it's hard to draw on. But this really allows me to draw really well. It's really great. It's really great. So there we go. So I'm going to jump in and just throw some watercolor down on it and see what we get. You know, another thing I love about Lilorosh is that they are artists themselves, and so they're making products that they would use, and they know the lingo, they know what's needed, and so they provide this really wonderful product based on what they know they would want to use themselves. So I think that's really great, and what a really huge advantage for the customer. So I've got one of the things I love to use when I go out in the field is my Cotman watercolor set. It comes in a little pack like this. It's super portable. So it's about the size of your wallet, and it opens up. You got a little cup right here, and then it opens like so, and these two little pieces fold out. You can see I haven't cleaned it, but this is your palette. And it's got a little water ball right here that pops out. And yes, you can, I don't have water in there now. I'm using a cup. But this will hold water. And you pour that water into your cup. And then the cup has a little clip on it. And it can sit right there. And then underneath, there's a little loop for your thumb. And you can hold it like this. See? It's one of the most awesome art supplies that I've ever had. The first one I ever had, I had for about 25 years. Then it finally fell apart. So this one I've had for about 10 years. And it's just great. But I like to use it when I'm just sitting at my desk as well. It comes with watercolor cakes. It even has a little sponge and a tiny little sable brush. Yeah, that's a sable little tiny paintbrush right there. Super cool. And it just goes right back like so. And right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to throw down some color. I'm going to be really loose with it. This is how I like to approach my in the field painting. And I've got a small number 6 round right here that I'm using. And once again, I'm using my Winsor Newton Cotman watercolor set. So it's Cotman colors. And I'm going to start with the background first. I want to get some nice blue in that sky, a little ultramarine. And the light areas of one of the reasons I wanted to draw it out, the light area of the elephant that's in sunlight, I'm actually going to leave it white. I'm going to blast it out a little bit. So everything else, because I want that to be white, I'm going to, I need it to pop. So I need to make sure that there's color on everything else. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to come in. So I'm avoiding painting the elephant. I want to paint the sky behind him. I'm going to keep it wet so I don't end up with any lines, dry lines. Next bit I want to do is a little bit of green. And I'm going to mix different colors in there and with this green as I lay it down. So I got a little ochre, yellow ochre right there. That I'm putting down. Once again, I'm avoiding painting the elephant himself because I want some nice pure color on that elephant. And I'm thinking about my light colors and going to dark. So that's why I'm painting this grass right now, because it's going to be light. I keep changing up the color just to get some variation in there. I'm going to pull up some of this excess water here. The way I pull this up is I squeeze the water out of my brush, get all the excess water out of my brush, and I can just run it along the wet spots and it'll soak that water right back up again. So now I want to get into some darker trees here. I still want this to dry a little bit. I'm going to go into the trees in the background and make them a bit darker. I'll let them bleed right there a little bit. Got a little excess water in there, so once again I'm going to squeeze out my brush and just lightly dab it. That way I can pull up some of that water. I'm going to do the same thing along this edge over here. Just like that. Here I'm trying to be very careful because I've got those tusks and I want to keep them white. And once again, I'm going to pull up some of that excess water. And now we got to let this dry. Hair dryer helps. You can't usually have a hair dryer out in the field, but if you're working in your studio, use a hair dryer. Helps speed up the process. There we go. So now we're nice and dry. I always check with the back of my hand. The reason I check with the back of my hand is that a lot of times, even if you wash your hands, you can get oils. Your fingers can be very oily. So I touch things with the back of my hand, see if they're still wet. You don't want oil on your fingers touching your watercolor paper because when you paint over it, it'll show up. So you want to keep that paper as clean and pristine as you can. Clean and pristine. So now I'm going to go in and we're going to start working up some of the color on this elephant here. It's primarily kind of ultramarine with some burnt sienna in there. Give them a little bit more brown. So I'm going to start at the back. I'm left-handed, so I want to pull away from where I'm painting from. And I'm going to go over this a couple of times, but initially, I'm going to go kind of quickly. Because one of the things I want to do is soften. Like I said, I'm leaving at that top edge, the light area. I'm going to leave that white. I'm going to push it a little bit and let that play as the light for the painting. And I'm going to push some of the darks a bit more. I got to say, this is really, it's really taking the watercolor nicely, this paper. I'm going to keep moving along this edge. I'm slowing down. Got to move, man. I like to go quick because I want the, I don't want an edge to form where I'm trying to paint. I don't want a line. Little sketches are fun to do like this. I'm just painting in the textures. The sienna and ochre and ultramarine are really a nice combination. All right, we're going to let this dry. We'll go back in with another shot. All right, so I'm going to pull out my little brush. This little guy right here that comes with my Cotman, I'm going to paint in some little details. It's a great little brush for this. There's a little bit of shadow that goes along the top of the spine there, along the back. Here I just want to paint in a few textures. There we go. Actually, I've got another brush here that I think I'm going to use instead. It's a little more substantial. So I'm just going in and kind of hitting the areas that should be a little darker in the shadow areas. So when it's dry, when it's dry like this, I can use almost like an eraser, and I can, with the paintbrush, I can pull out texture. And soften edges like I'm doing here. Getting a little bit of skin texture in here as I paint. Here I want to go pretty dark. Hit the bottom of this foot. Just soften that edge a little. So that ultramarine and burnt sienna just create a really nice dark. So I can go in and hit some little details here and there. That's a little too dark. So I'm going to just go in here and just pull it right up. You know, a lot of people think that watercolor is really unforgiving, and in some senses it is. But there's a lot you can do to fix mistakes. Just painting some skin textures in here. And just keep working it and working it. Slowly pulling some of these textures out of the skin. This elephant's a little blotchy too, so I'm going to add some of that in there too, dirt. One of the things that elephants can do, they can communicate. They communicate through really low frequency sound. And they can kind of hear, in a way, through their feet. They communicate these low frequency sounds through the ground. And they can, a herd miles and miles away can pick up these vibrations and kind of hear through their feet. It's really interesting. Almost there. Almost there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to grab a little ultramarine here. Get in here and let's paint some shadows. This is pure ultramarine. I'm painting this shadow. I want little blades of grass popping up there. I'm going to add little details in the back. Little plants sticking up. I'm going to go back to my tiny brush. And I want to paint some little details of the skin. You know, the texture of an elephant skin is really hard to describe. They're so hard and weathered. I wouldn't even say it's like leather. It's like wood, almost like you're feeling the bark of a tree. So I want to get in here. This is going to be our darkest dark in here. Lots of ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm going to bleed that out a little bit. Put a little shadow core right there on the tusk. And a nice dark color here, and I'm going to go right into the mouth. Tiny bit of color where the light is, rather than leaving it white. Now that I'm seeing it, I think a nice warm tone right there would be nice. Just a little warm tone. I'm going to hit this with a hairdryer, and then we got almost there. We're almost done. I'm going to add a couple of little details to the trunk. Tiny little wrinkly details. Our little brush here is perfect for these little details. Elephants have a little gland on the side of their head that oozes a little bit. Tiny little details. Yeah, I think we're probably pretty close to finish. I like to add a little detail here with my handy dandy pen. Just cleaning up some of these lines. There. There's our little elephant. Right there. Our first little watercolor in our brand new Lilorosh Blaise signature watercolor pad. Watercolor sketchbook, I should say. There we go. Page 1. There it is. Our little elephant. Let me sign it. There it is. 2024. Little details. So check them out. Go on over to Lilorosh.com and check out the Aaron Blaise Lilorosh signature sketchbooks, watercolor sketchbooks. They're awesome. We love them. 3 different designs right there. There's our lion. There's our wolf right there. Here is our tigre, our tiger, and our first little painting. So once again, it's Lilorosh.com, and go over there and check them out. Now, keep in mind, they are based in India, so it might take a little bit of time for you to get yours, but for us, it came fairly quick. We got ours in just a few days, so I was really happy about that. And also, because they're based in India, their website will default to rupees in the exchange. So just go on up to the upper right and click on it, and you can change from rupees to whatever your local currency is. So check it out. So there we go. Thanks, you guys. Going out there, get a Lilorosh Aaron Blaise signature watercolor sketchbook and go put some beauty back in the world. I'll talk to you next time.